Welcome. This is a short video to discuss rubrics and how we can use rubrics in order to score our assessments. Whether it's an exam, a quiz, or an essay, there has to be a way to grade it so that we can not only get the student the grade they deserve, but give them the valuable feedback that helps them improve. Now, when we look at this, notice a lot of us grade with checklists, especially in the math and sciences. We grade, did they solve the problem correctly? Did they find the slope? Did they have the right sign? But instead, this video is going to talk about this over here, where we are looking at how we grade. Instead, we're looking at a rating scale. Let me give you an example of this. All right, when we just from definition, a good way to look at it is if it's a checklist, it's a light switch that's on or off, or it's right or wrong. Whereas our rating scale is more of a dimmer switch. There could be parts of it correct. It might have excellent logic, but very poor grammar and sentence, paragraph structure. So let's go ahead and let's look at an example of the rubric. And this is the rubric that was given to you when you did your basic D2L. And what do we have here? Well, we have criteria, all right? And that criteria is what are we grading on? And then we have this information here that sort of gives information to the students. What were we looking for? Did they thoroughly answer the question? In looking at rubrics, there are two basic types of rubrics, and that's the holistic or the analytic. Okay, the analytic rubric looks at each dimension or trait. It evaluates it separately. It does have some of the advantage. First off, it provides diagnostic information. Is the student having a problem with grammar, or is the student having logic issues? It also gives really good feedback directly to the students. And this is important. It helps the students improve if they understand exactly where their issues are and what they're doing wrong. From an instructional standpoint, it takes more time to score because you are scoring each section individually. It also takes more time to sort of achieve an interrelatable, or how does work compare to the other students in the class. The other type of rubric is the holistic rubric, where everything is evaluated simultaneously. Now, you do get faster scoring with the holistic rubric. But one of the problems is it's not a very good formative assessment. It really doesn't give a lot of excellent feedback to the students. So there's a trade-off. If you're doing a holistic rubric inside D2L, it's a good idea that you additionally leave personal feedback. That's actually a good practice anyway, but leaving feedback so students understand why they scored what they did. Let's look at two basic examples. Here is an analytical rubric. And notice, the scores, here are a row. Sometimes you will see the scores as columns. And they're in basic, we have content, organization, development, and use of language. So, for example, if a student is working through this and the student realizes that their score for content is a 1, whereas their score for vocabulary is a 4, they used excellent vocabulary on their paper, but on the other hand, they had very poor content, or they didn't answer the question. So looking at this grading rubric allows the students to very clearly identify what they need to improve. A holistic rubric, as I mentioned earlier, gives really an overall explanation. This one, it says exemplary, proficient, acceptable, weak, unacceptable. Other scoring you'll say is excellent, very good, good, needs improvement. And those types of words is what used with a holistic rubric. As an instructor, you would read the paper and then say, okay, so this particular paper falls into the acceptable category, they get 20 points. As an instructor, you would then have a feel for it, and you sort of have an overall feel of what you're examining. The problem is the students don't get a lot of information or feedback from this type of rubric, and that's why you have to leave personal information. This concludes a basic definition video of rubrics. Please click on the next one so we can learn what involves a great rubric.